Welcome to part 2 of The Organization Selections from the Gnostic Nag Hammadi Library. The Nag Hammadi Library is a collection of early Christian and Gnostic manuscripts, also called codices, that were discovered in 1945 near the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi. The writings in these ancient books date back nearly 2,000 years. Their discovery and translation have helped scholars to re-evaluate early Christian history and the nature of Gnosticism, an approach that is emphasized in these texts. Gnostics believe that a divine spark exists within each person, through which a direct experience of God can be achieved. Today, the precious Nag Hammadi manuscript collection is housed in the Coptic Museum in Cairo, Egypt. We now invite you to join us for excerpts from the organization from the tripartite tractate in the Nag Hammadi Library. In Gnostic terms, the Aeon represents a level of divine perfection that came from God the Father and is without form. Within the creation of a physical realm, divinity can still be present but is no longer perfect. In this context, spiritual liberation involves repenting the mistakes of physical existence so that we may return to the formless divinity of the Aeon. Another concept in Gnostic teachings is logos. Logos symbolizes the universal divine principle as expressed through physical form. One such representation of logos in Gnostic scriptures is the Son of God, Lord Jesus Christ. The organization. The Logos knows the agreement in the lust for power of the two orders. To these and to all the others, he graciously granted their desire. He gave to each one the appropriate rank, and it was ordered that each one be a ruler over a place and an activity. He yields to the place of the one more exalted than himself, in order to command the other places in an activity which is in the allotted activity which falls to him to have control over, because of his mood of being. As a result, there are commanders and subordinates in positions of domination and subjection among the angels and archangels, while the activities are of various types and are different. Each one of the archons with his race and his perquisites to which his lot has claim. Just as they appeared, each was on guard, since they have been entrusted with the organization, and none lacks a command and none is without kingship from the end of the heavens to the end of the earth, even to the foundation of the earth, and to the places beneath the earth. There are kings, there are lords, and those who give commands, some for administering punishment, others for administering justice, still others for giving rest and healing, others for teaching, others for guarding. Over all the archons or rulers, he appointed an archon with no one commanding him. He is the Lord of all of them, that is, the countenance which the Logos brought forth in his thought, as a representation of the Father of the totalities. Therefore, he is adorned with every name which is, a representation of him, since he is characterized by every property and glorious quality. For he too is called Father and God, and Demiurge, and King and Judge, and Place, and Dwelling, and Law. The Logos uses him as a hand to beautify and work on the things below, and he uses him as a mouth to say the things which will be prophesied. The things which he has spoken he does. When he saw that they were great and good and wonderful, he was pleased and rejoiced, as if he himself in his own thought had been the one to say them and do them, not knowing that the movement within him is from the Spirit who moves him in a determined way toward those things which he wants. In regard to the things which came into being from him, he spoke of them, and they came into being as a representation of the spiritual places which we mentioned previously in the discussion about the images. Not only did he work, but also as the one who is appointed as father of his organization. He engendered by himself and by the seeds, yet also by the Spirit which is elect and which will descend through him to the places which are below. Not only does he speak spiritual words of his own in an invisible way, he speaks through the Spirit which calls out and begets things greater than his own essence. Since in his essence he is a God and Father, and all the rest of the honorific titles, he was thinking that they were elements of his own essence. He established a rest for those who obey him, but for those who disobey him, he also established punishments. With him too, there's a paradise and a kingdom and everything else which exists in the eon, which exists before him. They are more valuable than the imprints because of the thought which is connected with them, which is like a shadow and a garment, so to speak, because he does not see in what way the things which exist actually do exist. He established workers and servants, assisting in what he will do and what he will say, for in every place where he worked he left his countenance in his beautiful name, affecting and speaking of the things which he thinks about. He established in his place images of the light, which appeared, and of those things which are spiritual, though they were of his own essence. For thus they were honored in every place by him, being pure from the countenance of the one who appointed them, and they were established. Paradises and kingdoms and rests and promises and multitudes of servants of his will. And though they are lords of dominions, they are set beneath the one who is Lord, the one who appointed them. After he listened to him in this way, properly, about the lights, which are the source and the system, he set them over the beauty of the things below. The invisible Spirit moved him in this way, so that he would wish to administer through his own servant, whom he too used, as a hand and as a mouth, and as if he were his face, and his servant is, the things which he brings, order and threat and fear, in order that those with whom he has done what is ignorant might despise the order which was given for them to keep, since they are fettered in the bonds of the archons which are on them securely. The whole establishment of matter is divided into three. The strong powers which the spiritual Logos brought forth from fantasy and arrogance he established in the first spiritual rank. Then those powers which these produce by their lust for power he set in the middle area, since they are powers of ambition, so that they might exercise dominion and give commands with compulsion and force to the establishment which is beneath them. Those which came into being through envy and jealousy and all the other offspring from dispositions of this sort he set in a servile order, controlling the extremities, commanding all those which exist and all the realm of generation, from whom come rapidly destroying illnesses, who eagerly desire begetting, who are something in the place where they are from, and to which they will return. And therefore he appointed over them authoritative powers, acting continuously on matter, in order that the offspring of those which exist might also exist continuously. For this is their glory,